Now, what I would like to give you is what I think are the five major pieces to the life puzzle. 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. If we can study each of these pieces and then put it all together, the chances of it running well are just a lot better. Mr. Schaff gave me a simple formula when I first met him. Let me give it to you. He said, there is usually about half dozen things makes 80% of difference. There is about a half dozen wealth things, about a half dozen health things that can give you the 80 solution to the problem. And Mr. Schaff said, be a student of those half dozen basic things. Pretty good advice. Success is not doing extraordinary things. Success is doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. So, if you just learn to do it well, he thinks well. Learn to speak well. Poor people can talk and rich people can talk. It looks like rich people talk better. Learning to speak is called survival. Learning to speak well is called success. So let me give you what I think are fundamental pieces of life, and we'll take it from there. Here is the first one, philosophy. Philosophy in very simple terms is simply what you know. And what you know greatly affects how your life works out. We might also add, what you don't know greatly affects how your life works out. The idea you miss could be the missing in trying to put the numbers in the luck. So, what you don't know will hurt you. To correct an old cliche and to correct another one, ignorance is not bliss. It's important to know, it's important to get the information now. We do something very important with what we know. We weigh it. That's another good word, we weigh it. We weigh everything before we do it, before you buy it, before we try it. Make sure you weigh it. Everything you get ready to do, you got to decide whether it's a major or minor. And you do not want to give major things minor times. You do not want to give something insignificant, significant amounts of every energy. So we simply use the phrase before you pay. Sophisticated people learn to weigh everything, and what we all need is a good set of mental skills to weigh everything. What if you got information and your mental skills were off and insignificant things to you were significant? Wouldn't that be a major handicap to the rest of your life? When you weigh something, important things weigh unimportant. We would call that a great handicap. So it's very important to weigh everything properly. And that's the reason for ceremony and songs and lyrics and lecture and seminars and conversation and professors and teachers. It's one of the reasons why we converse with each other and we debate, we think about, and we ponder and we perceive a weight, and we try to find out where the values are, because you do not want to proceed and give back chunks of your life to something that's insignificant. So we get information, we weigh it, and we come to conclusions about values. The question is information in your life. Where are the values? What is important? What would weigh heavy on the mind? And I should give it significant time and significant energy and significant money. Mr. Schaff said to me, poor thinking habits keep most people poorer. Not poorer working habits. Most people work hard, but they do not think hard. They don't use their minds to really try to perceive what their value are, so they do not waste any time. It's easy to spend big chunks of your life on insignificant things. It is one of the major pieces of life puzzle. What you think about knowledge, how you weigh it, the conclusion you come to, the values you perceive, thinking. If you really want to help somebody change your life, you have to start changing their mind, change their philosophy, change how they think. Somebody says, well, just motivation. That'll do it. And the answer is no, motivation won't do it. If a guy's an idiot, then you motivate him. You got a motivated idiot, so no. That's not what it takes. Now, it's very easy to make errors in judgment. Error in judgment. I'm now teaching people Even after they're out of school, university, college, they should read at least 1 or 2 books a week. It's easy when you get out of school, right? And get a job, just let that all slide. Not keeping up the learning process, but if you don't keep up the learning process, a lot of values become fuzzy if you don't keep trying to perceive what's important, what is not important, and then start spending major effort on minor things. So we have to keep learning. What if a guy spent his book money on donuts? We would call him greatly deprived mentality. In 10 years, the guy has bought 2 tons of donuts and only 2 books, mostly with pictures. And he wondered why his life isn't working well. Reason? After he got out of school, he didn't keep up the flow of ideas that can help you refine your business and help you refine your decisions. And it can help you come to better conclusion. We've got to keep up the learning curve, even after you're out of school, to make sure that you're not making errors in judgment. The reason why people wind up average at 80 and at the age of 40 instead of rich is simply an error in judgment about what to do with your money. Why would you suggest a 15-year-old start as a plan to do their money so that by 40 they're rich instead of average? You gotta have a good plan, right? If you start making errors early with your money, those errors can make your life mediocre instead of rich. So wind up with pennies instead of a fortune, and you wind up with crumbles instead of feasts. Simply because early you made errors on what you do with your money. The guy says it's only in dollars, so what does it matter what I do with it? And the answer is, it's when it really matters. It's when you do not have much. The guy says, oh, if I had a fortune, I would really take care of good habits, but I've only got a paycheck, so I don't know where it goes. We call those great errors in judgment. It's important to make sure you've got a good plan when amounts are small, but it's easy to make error. It's easy not to know. It's easy to miscalculate. And if you miscalculate, some things keep adding and adding and adding. I got a good phrase for you. Life is cumulative. Good phrase to know. Life is cumulative. Our errors either accumulate into what we do not get, or our wise decision accumulate into what we do get. Now, the key is to correct the errors as early as possible. Fortunately, Mr. Schaff caught me at age 25, starting asking me major questions. At age 25, he said, Mr. Rohn, how much have you been working? And I said, I've been working 6 years. I started working when I was 19. He said, well, 6 years. How much money have you saved and invested in the last 6 years? I said, not any. He said, who sold you on that plan? Wow, 6 years is enough time to have to check and see if you've got good financial philosophy. And the time is a cash, the error early. So Mr. Schaff started asking me those tough questions at the age of 25. How about your money? How about your resources? How about your investments? And you say, well, I've got plenty of time to worry about it. It'll be concerned about, and the answer is probably not. Now is the time to fix it. Wherever you hear the good information, that's the time to start fixing it. So we're teaching kids now a good wealth philosophy starting at the age of 25 and 15 will make you wealthy by age of 20, 25. At least if you're a little slow. Starting with why things with your resources. When would you suggest people should be why things with their resources? Answer, as soon as they get the better information. Now, you cannot do what you do not know, but the key is to learn so that good ideas keep occurring to you. Now, you can do more why things, but philosophy is where it all begins. What we know now, to know why things, we simply have to study as you're doing. Keep up the reading, keep up the conversations, keep up the listening to lectures, keep going through the information, keep stashing it away, taking the notes. There is no better way to adjust your philosophy than to have of life ideas. But that's the first piece of life puzzle. Philosophy. Now, here is number 2. Philosophy determines attitude. Attitude is simply how you feel first. What you know sets the sail of your life now. How you feel starts taking their attitude now. There is all kinds of ways to feel, right? You can feel good or you can feel bad. Here is one attitude. If this is all they pay, I'm not coming early and I'm staying late on the job. That's an attitude. I don't come early and I don't stay late now. Do you suppose that attitude, if you create it through the rest of your life, do you suppose that attitude would greatly affect your life as the years unfolds? The answer is overwhelmingly, of course. Here's another attitude. No matter what the pay, I always come early and always stay late to invest in my own future. Isn't it fascinating? Attitude by choice. You can either choose to come early or you can choose to come late. You can either choose to leave early or you can choose to stay late. Attitude is a master of choice. Now, to make a wise choice, you need educated attitude. Emotion must go to school to learn where the values are. Okay, good phrase. Emotion must go to school when kids are young, right? A 3-year-old, falls on the floor and kicks his feet and screams. We say, well, that's okay when you're there. But it's not okay when you are 30, right? As a little kid, right? You can retaliate and punch somebody out. But when you're 23, you say, no. You gotta learn now to take that emotion and spend it at school and find out where the values are. It's okay, feel strong, but you've got to learn, restrain yourself in the society if you want life to go well for you. So attitudes now become a matter of educated choice. But how you feel is gonna greatly determine how your life works out now. It's how you feel about a variety of things. Let me give you the first list. Number 1, it's how you feel about the past. Now, when you're young, you haven't got that much past to feel about, but I'm sure you've had some ups and downs. You have had some wins and wins and loses. So part of your attitude is based on how you feel about the past. Some people are still carrying the burdens of the past. They're affected by some difficulties, same loses, whatever. They're carrying it around like a burden instead of using the past as a school. They're using it as a threat to their life. So part of it is solving the attitude about the past. So how you feel about it. Number 2 is how you feel about the future. Facing the future, very important, key part of your life. Now, here is 2 ways to face the future. Here are, number 1, anticipation. That's one way to face the future. Anticipation. Here is another way, apprehension. Now, most people face the future with apprehension primarily because they bought somebody else's view. They do not have their own future well designed. So, in the absence of having your own life future well designed, you have a tendency to be persuaded to buy somebody else's future. Here is what's going to happen. Here is what's gonna happen. Boy, it's easy to let your days be clouded by all of that. So someday, somewhere along the line, you gotta start setting for your sure. How you feel about the future and how you feel about it greatly determines what you do. If you don't feel good about the future by having goal sets, you take what you call uncertain steps. It's difficult to be confident about the day if you don't have your future well designed. So here is one of keys to do about your future. Set goals, write them down. Design the future. Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? What do you want to be? What do you want to see? What do you want to have? What do you want to share? Even if it all chances 12 months from now. The key is to start making a list below. The cities you want to visit, the people you would like to meet, the health goals, your investment goals, all that stuff. Start writing it, putting it in a journal somewhere, and let it all change as time unfolds. Something that you think is very important right now. 2 years from now, you will say, that was kind of foolish. How come I thought that was so important, right? Because you will grow beyond that. But right now, it's important to get as clear a picture as you can of the future. Set your dreams, set your goals, because it's important. How the day goes is greatly determined by the confidence about the future now. Here's another attitude. It's how you feel about each other. It's how you feel about society and community and the country. It's very important. It's not that difficult to be ascetic. The asceticism greatly influences how your life works out. But it's important also to understand that if you want to do well, it takes all of us to help each of us. Good phrase. It takes all of us to help each of us do well. You cannot succeed by yourself. It's hard to find a rich hermit. You cannot succeed by yourself. You need a market. You need a society. We need each other's ideas. We need each other's cultivate ideas. Cultivate participation in the marketplace society. Okay. How you feel about each other. We're very important now. Here is a big one. It's how you feel about yourself. How you feel about yourself. Self-esteem, understanding your own values. Right? If your discovery starts to unfold yourself, then you've got the brains, you've got the talents. All you need is instruction. All you need is some coaching. All you need is some help. All you need is some advice, some experience. If you're headed down the wrong road, hopefully somebody's already been down that road where the bridge is out, and they come back saying, do not go the way anymore, the bridge is out. So we take somebody else's advice and we say, wow, glad you came along. I'm heading down this road. So learning from another people's experience, picking up all the ideas so that we can feel good about ourselves. Now, self-esteem primarily comes from engaging in disciplines that lead to value. Self-esteem comes from engaging in disciplines that lead to value. We do not lack potential. But to break value from potential, we need the discipline. Now, on the major things that make us not feel good about ourselves is not engaging in the discipline. If you keep letting yourself off the hook or just hunting it or letting it all slide, then you don't feel good about yourself. Best in any philosophy, right? To feel good about yourself, do your best. Gather all you can during the summer. We call that the ant philosophy. Ants do not settle for half. They go for all the possible they can do best you can. It's the greatest life of self-esteem. It's doing the best you can. Okay, so attitude plays such an important part in the 5 pieces of life puzzle. Now, what's next? Number 3. First is philosophy. Second is attitude. And attitude determines activity. Activity is what you do. Key success is doing. You actually now have to do it. It seems as taught. God has designed that major part of value in our life is left to our own mental genius. We've got to decide what you want to become, then simply have to go do it. Engaging in the discipline now, the activity part is important. Hard work should you work. When it gets ready to labor, when it gets ready to try to be successful in the marketplace, how many days should you spend? How hard should you work? Well, let me give you an Old Testament phrase to consider it. It says, 6 years activity, 1 day reset. Now, that's called the philosophy on activity, right? What should be the ratio of rest of activity? Old Testament suggests 6:1. Now, I know that goes back a long ways. Some people said, no, 6:1 is old-fashioned. 5:2 is better. Well, you gotta take a look at 5:2 and see if it's okay. You do not just want to buy somebody's philosophy without thinking it leads to fortune and it leads to unique things. Wonderful. It's probably good, but you have to check out if 5:2 is okay. Would 4:3 or be better? I don't know. You gotta check everything. I do know the good phrase, don't rest too long. I got a good point for you. Make rest a necessity, not an objective. An objective of life is not to rest. The objective of life is to accomplish, to growth, full accomplishment. Test the outer limits of your ability. That's what life is all about. See what all you can do. That's what life is all about. See what you can do with the seasons and the soil and seeds. See what you do with your brain. See what you can with your talent and with your gift and your skills. That's what life is all about. See what you can do now. We need rest, but we must make a test necessity, a rest necessity, not an objective. If you make it an objective, you start falling into what we call the average syndrome, right? People who live mediocre lives are always looking forward to getting off. Successful people are always looking forward to getting on. Successful people don't want off. They want on. They want to get with the job. The rest only enough to gather strength. So consider that in your argument, in your debate, and how hard should you work. Let me give you another Bible philosophy. My parents made sure it was pretty good scholar by the time I was 80. At the age of 18, and I am an amateur on the Bible. But here another good philosophy. Whatever your hands currently find to do it all with your might. Whatever you're doing, do it with all your might. We call that philosophy an activity. How hard should you work? As hard as you can in all the time allocated to labor, in relationship, management, lectures. We teach when we work. When you play. Do not play at work and do not work at play. Make best use of your time. When you're working, pour it on. And where you're playing, have a good time. But don't play at work, okay? So activity, very important piece in this whole life puzzle and working. So you've got to test how hard you can work. Part of it is physical, your own physical limitation. Some people can take 14 hours, no problem. Some people 10 stretches, but their physical limitation. So everything has to decide how hard you can work, how much time you can put in. When you come to university, you gotta find out how much workloads you can handle, how many classes you can go through, how much can you unrival, how many study hours do you need, how much effort have you got. When you're going to run out of gas, right, and you need to replenish the supply, so you all have to study our own activity habits. But let me give you what I think is the best philosophy. It's simply do the best you can in activity. We call it doing your best. A man asked me one time, he said, I'm making about $50,000 a year. Is it enough? What would you tell somebody? A businessman said to me, he said, my kids aren't striving. And he said, I got my bills paid. And he said, we're doing pretty good and I'm making about $40,000 a year. Isn't that enough? He said, what do you suppose I told him? I said, yes, it's enough if you're the best you can do. We do not call any enough. We call your best enough. I said, if you're capable of making $500,000 a year and make $50,000 a year, we call you a loser. You do not call it you loser because of the difference between 50,000 and $500,000. We call you loser because you're not doing your best. If you do the best and you make 10,000 a year, that's enough. If you do your best and you make $1 million a year, that's enough. Enough is not the difference between 10,000 and $1 million. Enough is simply doing the best you can. So that's the key to the good life. When the day is finished, if you say, didn't I do my best? And if I'm not doing the best, why not? Have I got some errors in my philosophy that says, hey, half effort's okay, just slide by. Hum it, cross your fingers and everything will work out. Hopefully, I say no. I don't want to take those kinds of chances. I don't want to drift. So activity. Just put a big question mark on activity and say, there is a major piece of life to keep checking. Make sure I'm doing my best. That's all I require, my best. A group of psychiatrists asked me to come and lecture for them in Los Angeles one time, which I thought was interesting since I only went to a year of college. And then in the middle of my lecture, I had the audacity to say, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what do I think most messes with the mind? They said, what do you think most messes with the mind? I said, I think what most messes with the mind is simply doing less than you can. It sets up all kinds of cynic problems. Doing less than you guess you really feel good about yourself. When you've done the best you can, you don't even have to win the full puzzle if you do the best you can. We call that ultimate winning. Doing your best you can. Wow, there is nothing like the soaring self-confidence that comes from putting out what we call full effort. In whatever you do, it's called full effort. Philosophy, activity, attitude. Attitude leads to number 4, results. And that's what life is all about. Putting the first 3 together. Good philosophy, attitude, high activity to set the ultimate call of results. I got a good phrase for you. Result is the name of the game. Now, the challenge of life is a very simple phrase. Let me give it to you. I think you will find it interesting with the last ponder. The challenge of life is to make measurable progress in reasonable time. Measurable progress in reasonable time. First, we do not want to be unreasonable with time. If you and I agree to do something 5 minutes later, I'm asking you, how are you doing? You say, I haven't left the building yet. You cannot ask the 5 minutes. 5 minutes is too soon. That's unreasonable. Now, if I don't ask you for 5 years, we call that too late. You cannot 5 years and you do not go 5 minutes. We all have to learn what's reasonable time to expect somebody to make progress, to grow, to change, to develop. So all of us have to learn, especially if you're going to become changes, to develop leaders, entrepreneurs, if you're gonna have management responsibilities and work with people, you gotta understand what is reasonable time. We don't want to be unreasonable with time, but here is what else we expect. Measurable progress is reasonable time. How many years should the child spend in 4th grade? Approximately about 1. You say, well, if there is nice kids, would you give them 3 or 4? You say no. You cannot spend 4 years in a 4th grade. It's unexpectable. We can put on the family pressure. We put on peer pressure. We put on all kinds of pressure. We cannot spend 4 years in a 4th grade now. Wouldn't that be interesting if you applied the same social pressure of all your lives? What would be acceptable to society for wise investment to have been made by age 30 so that we can really properly take care of yourself and your family? Somehow we would miss those standards, right? Shouldn't be popular to be wealthy at the age of 40 and shouldn't be look at somebody who by age 25, 45 is not what at least financially independent saying. Where have you been? A Tibet, a bank, Bangladesh you probably have spent. You mean you haven't here all the time? Shouldn't we make it a bit unacceptable not to be well off in what we call a reasonable time? But what if a guy spent his potential fortune on non-essential reasonable time? But what if a guy spent his potential fortune on non-essential from age 15 to age 25? Shouldn't we call that unacceptable? Shouldn't teenagers ask their parents, how come we're rich? We live in a rich country. This is America. Aren't these good questions? How about the wisdom of a good plan versus a poor plan? What if a man was a farmer and he ate his seed corn instead of planting it? He ate it. Wouldn't we make arrangement to get the children and say, kids aren't safe, the man's insane. He eats in his seed corn. He doesn't plant it. Wow, I just offer that as an interesting question. If we make such a pressure demand for fourth grade, why shouldn't we make those same pressure demands for the rest of life? Interesting question, right? But debatable question. Now, part of it is very simple. Society eases back on us as far as ongoing demands of result. But here is what I would ask you to do. Make a demands on yourself. I'm asking you not to let others off the hook. Society will let you get by with far less than you want to be. When you get out of university, how many books? Well, your community demands that you read every month, approximately about none. So if you're doing to do extra reading, guess what? We gotta develop the philosophy, but put the pressure on yourself. But what I'm asking you, develop the philosophy and put the pressure on yourself. But what I'm asking to do is to take a good look at the result. Now, another reason why we look at the result at age 25, result at age 30, and a wide variety of things, health and culture and sophistication and lifestyle and uniqueness. We keep checking all those results. Here is why. To see if there is any errors in activity. Guess how easy it's to make errors in activity. It's easy. We teach in our leadership series, do not mistake movement for achievement. Wait. Sometimes it's easy to be flake out by being busy. The guy busy 10 hours a day, but here is gonna in figures 8. The guy don't make progress. He's stalled, but he's busy and he thinks being busy is going to do it. Now, you gotta be busy doing the right things. So maybe you need activity fixed. Maybe you need attitude fixed. Who knows? The guy who says, since they don't pay well, I came late and leave early. We say, John, that's gonna affect your life. And you probably got the result to show it. Or maybe we need a correction of philosophy. That's why we check result now. Here is the last piece of life puzzle. It's called lifestyle. Lifestyle is simply how you choose to live. We call lifestyle the genius of giving well. Now, here is what exciting about lifestyle as a subject of one of the major pieces in life puzzle. All of us can choose, especially in this country. All of us can choose how we wish to live. Guess what you can get from the money? Joy or animosity? Here we wish to live. A father take a $10 bill and writes it up and throw it at his son and says, I need a darn stuff that bad. Take it. We call it money without style. The father's got the money, but he doesn't have the style. He studied economics, but he didn't study happiness. So let me give you the phrase happiness is an art, not an accident. Some people have figured out things economically, but they haven't figured out lifestyle to live. Well, culture is a study. It's not an amount. Somebody says, if you have an amount of money, you will be cultured. An answer, no. Culture is a study. Culture is a refinement of mind. To be cultured, we must study culture and practice culture. Money doesn't solve the cultural heritage. Money doesn't solve the happiness college. To be happy, you gotta study and practice happiness. And Master Shove taught me all the things, way to get the joy from substance. Sophisticated gentleman knows that a rose on time is more valuable than 100,000 gifts too late. It's not amount of that counts. It's the genius that counts. It's the idea that counts. So here is what I'm challenging you to do. How to be happy with what you've got while you pursue what you want. And I'll give you time to make a note that these phrases, because it stings, it's important to wrap it up. How to be happy with what you got while you pursue what you want. So I would challenge you in the last piece of puzzle life. Find ways to thrive uniquely. Now, if you look at your life on these 5 pieces, this is why I'm asking you to just go back through the review those notes. How I'm doing philosophy. Are some things I don't know. I'm making some errors in judgment that's going to bring me to the good end, right? 3 years from now, 5 years from now, key phrase, 10 years from now, we will arrive. The question is where? Good question, where? And the following, now the time to fix the next 10 years. Now the time to fix the 10 years, and hopefully the discussion of these 5 subjects. We've given some viewpoint, at least from my experience, and hopefully I've do a little coaching today here. And you can take those subjects and debate them and talk about them and think about them, and they help with life in the future.